And again, we're not seeing anything imminent of any rotation that could redevelop. But remember, what we saw over in West Georgia in Carroll County, that happened really quick along that line with that rotation that was just developing there. So we're going to hang with you just a little bit longer until we get a feeling a little more comfortable about not seeing any additional areas of rotation developing here along that line in parts of Coweta County, moving into Fayette County, also into Troup County and into Meriwether County too, with this line there, with this severe thunderstorm warning that is going to be in effect until noon. Usually severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but this was issued much earlier and would end up being, I think, about an hour-long severe thunderstorm warning just because it's including so many counties. And the storm, the individual cells are moving at about 50 miles an hour, but the line itself isn't moving that quickly. And that's why within that line, we are seeing a lot of heavy rain that is coming down here with that line and continuing to move on over to the east. And again, over the city of Atlanta, we're about to see this heaviest rain that is moving in right now. So if you're watching in Sandy Springs right now, you're getting hit hard on that north end of the perimeter. Dunwoody, you're just seeing that heaviest rain coming in. That's just that part of DeKalb County north of 285 right here. Dunwoody's getting get hard with some heavy rain. It's about to push into Chamblee. Dorville right here at Spaghetti Junction, you're about to get hit hard there too. Along 75 there inside, that's moving down that leading edge, getting closer to the Collier Road, Howell Mill Road area there along 75, those exits, and then out on I-20 west as you get closer to 285. Just past the Bankhead area, those areas there on the west end where we're seeing that heavy rain that is about to move in, also about to push into East Point there on the west side and southwest side of the perimeter with that really heavy rain about to push into Atlanta. And this will have some winds, potentially 40 to 50 miles an hour. But still, the strongest part of this is this right here in Coweta County, Fayette County, into Meriwether County, and also into Troup County. The really heavy rain coming down with this right now. And we're watching along that line any notches that could develop there that would show some rotation. So Nicole, if you're feeling comfortable based on what you're seeing, I know you've been examining that on velocity here in just a minute, we're going to take you back. Well, you know what? We're going to hold on till 11:30. I think that's a safe thing there. We'll stay with you for another 5 minutes here. If we don't see any new rotation or anything developing, we'll stop our coverage here on television, on linear TV here on 11 Alive, but we'll continue our coverage on streaming at 11:30 at 11 Alive Plus to watch this come through. And then, of course, we'll break back in if we need to, if we see any of that rotation developing. But while we're here, I want you to know that severe thunderstorms and tornadoes aren't the only things that we're watching here. We are getting some flooding reports. We, on our National Weather Service chat, monitor emergency manager reports that are coming in. And this is another big thing that you need to be knowing about, well, too, not just severe thunderstorms and not just any rotation, but also the flooding that we have. We have flood warnings in effect here for Bartow County. We have a flood warning in effect for Cherokee County. That's the green polygon you see right here. Also with some really heavy rain coming out of Pickens County into Dawson County and Lumpkin County, we have another flood warning that is in effect. Many of the emergency managers here in these counties have been reporting flooded roads, rising creeks and streams, and low-lying areas where we're seeing water collecting and causing some issues and some flooding in some spots. So these flood warnings are going to be in effect for multiple hours today, not only when we're seeing the heavy rain coming down now, but once the rain starts tapering off, we're still going to get a lot of runoff into those areas where we will see, again, some of the issues that we might have there on the roads in those counties there. And we're seeing a lot of heavy rain in other spots too, where we will also have to watch for any flood-prone areas where we see any collecting water there or roads that could be flooded. It's just a reminder for you, if you are driving down a road and you see a flooded road, don't drive through it. The reason why, number one, you don't know how deep it is. Even though it looks level on the surface, you don't know how far that road goes down. The other thing is, it may look safe to drive through, but the road may be washed out under that water and then your car would go down into where that road is washed out. So don't drive into or over in a flooded road there. Just turn around and find another route to get around that, and just don't take any chances with that too. Line coming through inside the perimeter right now, bearing down on the city of Atlanta. Nicole, I noticed they've kind of trimmed down this severe thunderstorm warning a little bit. Parts of Coweta, not all of Coweta County is included in that anymore, so they've taken a little bit of that out of there. But still including Fayette County, the southeastern parts of Coweta County, also moving into Meriwether County and into parts of Troup County where we have that. And I'm assuming, I don't know if the TOR possible tag is still on that?
They still have the TOR possible tag on it, yes.
Okay, so, and this warning is the one that expires at noon that we were talking about there. So it's 11:28 right now. We're going to stay with you. For those in the control room, we'll go back to regularly scheduled programming at 11:30 straight up. Unless we see anything else happening here, but that's our plan right now. But then we will continue our coverage from here in the studio on streaming at 11 Alive Plus coming up at 11:30. So for this last minute, let me just sum up what we have going on. I'm going to include Nicole here with us right now because she's been following this all morning long. Nicole, I do see some encouragement there. As this is coming through the city, even though it's really heavy rain, it really looks like that band is not as thick as it was. Hopefully we're seeing this maybe weakening a little bit as it comes through, but still heavy rain coming through our area, but maybe not for as long of a duration as what we had earlier when it was coming through North and West Georgia. Yeah, it doesn't look like nearly as strong of a line of storms right now. I mean, given we're still seeing very gusty winds associated with it, some very heavy rainfall as well, but was once a very distinct line with kind of that signature bowing on the radar that shows the heavier rain and, of course, the gustier winds. It's not quite as distinct now, which is one indication that that line of particular storms is at least weakening a little bit. All right, Nicole, thank you for that. Thank you for our coverage this morning. We're going to end our coverage right now on television on 11 Alive. We'll break back into programming if we need to, but then we'll continue our coverage right now streaming on 11 Alive Plus. We hope to join you there. There we go. There's Nicole there as well.
The Atlanta zip codes with the highest car
on 11 Alive Plus. Nicole, they've got you up here. We'll go ahead and start with you as we're streaming here on 11 Alive Plus.
Okay, sorry, how to get my mic going.
Okay, there we go.
Think it's on now? Okay, yes, we're tracking this line of showers and storms. We actually just started hearing the rainfall here in Midtown where our station is. We've got very heavy rain that's just started to move into the city. Kind of a summation of what we're currently watching across North Georgia. We still have that severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect that goes through portions of Coweta County, down into Troup and Meriwether County as that leading edge of the storms sinks down towards the southeast. We've got a number of flash flood warnings that are in effect up into portions of Bartow County as well as Cherokee County. We've got those flash flood warnings as well. So the main area that I want to focus on right now is, of course, where that severe thunderstorm warning currently is. So that severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for a number of counties. This is a large kind of swath of the storms that they've chosen to severe warn. And that goes from Coweta down into Meriwether, Pike, and Troup counties until noon. So this does have that tornado possible tag. At this point, we're not seeing any areas where that indicate tight rotation within those storms. But with the current environment, these brief spin-ups are very possible that a brief spin-up could come in across the area. So we'll continue to monitor for that. Basically ahead of this area of storms, and I'll actually take it out real quick so we can get the locations where storms will be moving in. Let's see. Oh, I gotta zoom out the radar. So along that main line that is currently severe warned. There we go. So in the Brooks area, Zebulon within about the next 45 minutes if that line of storms holds together, towards Griffin within about the next 30 minutes. So this line has shown some area of weakening. It doesn't look quite as distinct. Again, we're monitoring it for potential areas of rotation, but at this point aren't seeing it. And this is all associated with a much larger line of storms that extends down into portions of Alabama, as well as central Georgia along and ahead of the cold front. So locations along the leading edge, that's where it's more likely that some gusty winds will develop, a brief spin-up tornado. But behind that, we've still got ongoing rainfall. And for portions of northwest Georgia, rain has been really falling for the last 12 to even in some spots 15, 16 hours. And that has led to some really high rain accumulation totals. Because of that, of course, the flood risk is something that we are watching really closely. So a flood watch remains in effect for Metro Atlanta as well as most of northwest Georgia during the day today. We do currently have a couple of those flash flood warnings that are in effect. Let me pull them all up so you can see them. In most spots where the flash flood warnings are currently ongoing, so that includes Bartow County, Cherokee County, these warnings have been issued to go until later this afternoon. So even once the rainfall has ended, we'll continue to see kind of runoff going into these streams and creeks, which could lead to additional swelling of the streams and creeks. A lot of the road closures that we've seen throughout Cherokee County, Bartow County, Pickens County, those have all been kind of surrounding those streams and creeks where the water rises associated with it comes up over the road. So it's those low-lying flood-prone areas where we're already seeing problems when it has to do with the flooding. And we will continue to monitor that flood risk throughout the rest of the day today, even after the rainfall has ended. It looks like the National Weather Service has also trimmed this tornado watch. So it remains in effect until 2 o'clock this evening or this afternoon. It has been trimmed back, so they've taken out the counties up towards the north. So Floyd, Polk County, no longer in it, where the storms have already kind of moved through, but it does remain in effect down towards Troup, Meriwether, as well as Coweta County, where the environment is a little bit more conducive for brief spin-ups. Again, these tornadoes that manage to develop along this line of storms, they usually fall quickly, they develop quickly, and typically they lift quickly as well. But know that a brief spin-up tornado is really possible along that line of storms at any point. So here's what the radar looks like right now associated with them. We'll get back to our radar. Let me take here we go. So we have that severe thunderstorm warning down into Coweta, Troup, Meriwether counties. We're going to watch this line of storms. So once this leading edge of the storms comes through, behind it, we'll keep the flood risk with continued rainfall, but our severe weather threat is going to wind down. I'll walk you through it on our future track so you can kind of see what we're looking at for the rest of the day today.
I also, if we want to come to me really quick while you're doing that here, I'm putting up our tower cam there at Georgia Tech. Look at that. This is here in Atlanta, where the heavy rain is in over our area right now. It is reducing visibility, very heavy rain over the city as this main line is moving through here right now with that very heavy rain. We were hearing it on our roof here in Midtown. Really heavy rain coming down, and you can see that here now with our tower cam there. I also want to show you the tower cam that we have over at Arizona Avenue. This is way up in the sky and it's in the clouds. So this is where we normally, and look at that, you can see the raindrops hitting the lens here. This is the camera that gives us that great view of the city skyline. Well, there's no visibility there now at all too. I want to check on the radar though. I have not looked specifically at the FAA site, but here's a look and you can see the wind really blowing the cameras there at Hartsfield-Jackson. They're not reporting any delays right now, but I wouldn't be surprised if with this heavy rain that's over the area right now, if we may have a ground stop there. In fact, let me see if I can access. I don't know if you have the FAA site there, Nicole, that you can look. It's not up on this tab here that I have. But it would be interesting to see, even though if it's not showing up here, if there is a ground stop at Hartsfield-Jackson. And Nicole's looking that up here for us, and she'll let us know here in just a second. But let me take you back to radar, where we can see here what we're watching with this line of heaviest rain that continues to move through our area right now. Where we have these strong storms that are rolling through. We still have the tornado, the severe thunderstorm watch that is in effect there on the south side. I just saw a new severe thunderstorm warning come in, but I think that's that area down to the south in southern Troup County. Yes, for Chattahoochee, Harris, Muskogee, Talbot, and Troup, a new severe thunderstorm warning that is in effect, but they are also using the tornado possible tag there. So that is for this new warning down here. So we already have this warning that we've been watching here that includes much of Troup County going into Meriwether County, Coweta County, and into Fayette. But now this brand new one was just issued that includes the rest of Troup County down into Harris County and also into Muskogee County. And this is a really similar setup with what we had earlier in Carroll County, where we're seeing this little bit of a of a notch there. I don't really call that a notch, but just a change there. And then this bowing out structure that is very similar to what we saw when it was coming into Carroll County. And then eventually we did have a tornado warning there. So the National Weather Service with this in southern Troup. Now I know that our viewing area stops there at Troup County. It does not include Harris or Muskogee County, but within that warning there, they are saying tornado possible. No indications right now of tight rotation with that, but as we saw up in Carroll County and Coweta County a little bit earlier, at any time we could see some rotation developing out of that. So we're going to keep a close eye on that as it continues to move into those areas here too. But right now, the main thing is the really heavy rain coming in through Atlanta, still watching this part of the storm system that's down to on the south side. That severe thunderstorm warning will expire at noon. What do you find in there, Nicole?
There is a ground stop at Hartsfield-Jackson until noon at this point.
Until noon. Ground stop at Hartsfield-Jackson. Let me take you back to that, and I think there's a good reason for that, where even though our graphic here, well, we'll just show you this right now without the graphic coming on, but a ground stop at Hartsfield-Jackson at noon. And look at that. You can see the planes there on the runway and taxiways there that are just stopped and lining up. But the ground stop is going to be until noon. All the heavy rain coming down. You can see that the visibility is reduced right now at Hartsfield-Jackson. And we'll keep watching there as to see if it improves. And it really should improve as the line is moving through right now. I'll show you on radar that heaviest part of the system as it's rolling on through right now. Through Hartsfield-Jackson, we'll zoom in here tighter to the city. And when I showed you Hartsfield just a few minutes ago, so here you see Forest Park. Hartsfield is right in here. When I showed you the tower cam from Hartsfield a little while ago, the camera was shaking because of the strong winds there and the heavy rain. They're now at Hartsfield on the back side of that heavy rain. Now, once that moves through, we're still going to have some light rain behind it and maybe some reduced visibility because of some low cloud cover. But hopefully, the estimation that they have there of the ground stop through noon should time out with the back edge of that rain moving out of Hartsfield-Jackson. But we have that heavy rain stretching up through these parts of South DeKalb County, right there at 285 and where 675 splits right there along I-20 there in DeKalb County. That is now on the east side of the perimeter. We mentioned Chamblee and Dorville around Spaghetti Junction earlier. They're now getting that heavy rain, and that's going to keep moving in. So in Redan, be ready. The heavy rain is going to be coming your way here in just a little bit. And also up into parts of Gwinnett County, going in along that I-85 corridor. We have some heavier rain there coming out of North Fulton into western Gwinnett along the 85 corridor, 985 up near Buford, Sugar Hill. You're getting in on some of that heavier rain. Some of that has already crossed 985 from Flowery Branch over really between closer to the Mall of Georgia area there in North Georgia, and North Gwinnett actually, getting closer to Brazelton and Houston, with that heavier rain that's about to move in there, about to cross over 85. We see a couple of new lightning strikes right here on the DeKalb and Gwinnett County line. Right there, still some intense rain coming there on the east side of the perimeter and moving down there on that east side. But again, that line, even though the rain is really heavy, it's just not as impressive as it was a little bit earlier. We still have this severe thunderstorm warning until noon as well, with that line that's moving through It's right now in southern Fayette County, southern Coweta County, northern parts of Meriwether County, moving back here into Troup County, where we have that heavier rain that is coming through right now, about to move into Greenville there in Meriwether County, and also getting closer to Spalding County. That little bit of Spalding County there in western Spalding is included in this severe thunderstorm warning. And still, this warning is tagged as tornado possible. At any time, we could see any rotation developing out of that, but we're just not seeing any signatures or anything alarming out of that right now that really raises our awareness of anything really happening. And looking at the debris finder, we're not seeing anything within that either. So once we can get this through Atlanta, we'll be in the clear here in the city, but folks over on the east side are still going to be dealing with the heavy rain as it moves through. There, again, on that 85 corridor, that part of Gwinnett County where we're seeing that lightning ramping up and then moving on to the east side of the perimeter and outside of the perimeter through DeKalb County into Rockdale County in just a bit, and then stretching down on the south side. I want you folks over in, as we mentioned, Spalding County, Pike, Lamar County, down toward Upson County, southern Meriwether County. Be aware, as that's the strongest part of the storm system that continues to move on through right now. And then we're also dealing with the flooding. When the heavy rain ends, that doesn't mean that the flooding risk ends immediately. You still have the threat for flooding even after the heavy rain ends, because we're going to have some additional light rain and moderate rain. But what happens is it takes a while for that heavy rain to run off into those creeks and streams and to wash down into those low-lying areas. So you could still see water rising even after the heaviest rain moves out of the area. So that's what we're going to keep watching as it moves on over to the east and pushes away. We're still going to be dealing with some rain for a while before it starts tapering off. And even light rain, even moderate rain, is going to add to the saturation level of the ground and add to those creeks and streams and add to that runoff, where some creeks and streams and low-lying areas will still have to watch for that potential for some flooding to occur there in those areas. Okay, watching here, the National Weather Service is looking back here to make sure we're getting additional information in out of Polk County for some flooding that has been taking place there from East John Hand Road in Cedartown. We're getting reports of rainfall amounts close to 3 inches from some of the emergency managers here in parts of North Georgia. So yes, this is an event that is impactful for many of you with the heavy rain that's moving through. We also had that rotation earlier. We are in our newsroom trying to find out information for that system that was a confirmed debris that was lofted into the sky there that prompted the confirmed tornado warning. We are trying with our crews to find out, narrow down on any areas that could potentially have any damage there. So we'll have that for you when we get it too. Nicole, are you getting anything new there from what you're watching? I don't see anything new here just from my brief glance, but I know you're watching a little bit closer.
There have been a couple very broad areas of rotation down in like Troup, Meriwether counties, but nothing at this point that would give us any reason to believe that there is any type of brief spin up there. So it's still just that main line of storms that's moving through. I will say that some of those storms that are just exiting the perimeter, so these storms up here on the east side, yes, they're below severe criteria, but we're still seeing radar indicated wind speeds there of close to 50 miles per hour in some spots. So those are still producing some very gusty winds as those storms move off towards the east. Again, the flood risk is going to stay with us for a good portion of the day today. We're already seeing areas of flooding across North Georgia, especially up to the north, where rain has been ongoing in some spots really through much of the overnight period. We have, again, that severe thunderstorm warning in place until noon. We've talked a little bit about how that main line that we've been watching has been weakening some as it passes. We're starting to see a few more kind of notches in it, which show areas of broad rotation, but nothing that's getting too defined at this point. But wind speeds associated with that are still up to anywhere of upwards 50 or 60 miles per hour. We have a couple special weather statements associated with some of these storms. So the one I mentioned that just moved through the east side of the city, this is moving towards Redan, and it's still producing wind gusts of upwards of 40, 50 miles per hour as it moves through. I can actually turn on our velocities just to show you some of the radar indicated wind speeds associated with it. It looks like they're down. It's weakened a little bit to about 30, 40 miles per hour as far as some of those velocities are concerned. But if you're really eastern DeKalb County, where we're still seeing some of the heavy rainfall, some of the gusty winds associated with that, it's just a good idea to come indoors, even though this is not severe warned. Down towards the south of the city, towards Harrelson, that's currently where we're seeing some of the heaviest of that rainfall there. Also some heavy rain down towards LaGrange, again, right on the border of Troup and Meriwether counties, where a lot of that heavier rainfall is. And this is the main line of storms. So once this moves through, at least the severe weather threat will come to an end, but we'll keep that flood risk going with potentially some showers still lingering for much of the day today. Notice that behind that main line of showers. So here's the line. You can see just based on how it kind of bows out here, why we're seeing areas where the winds are so much stronger. But behind that main line of sometimes severe warned storms, we've still got at times a very heavy rainfall ongoing up towards the northwest of it, where rainfall has already been prolonged. So in those spots, I was just looking at some of our rainfall totals just from the last 24 hours, and we've picked up upwards of 3, 4, even 5 inches in some of these spots that have kind of swaths of reds and oranges, really stretching from Cleburne County in Alabama up through portions of northwestern Cobb County, of course, in Bartow and Cherokee counties, where flooding has already been ongoing, and we currently have those flash flood warnings that are currently in effect. Chris.
All right, Nicole, good update there with that latest that we have here. Also, you know, as we're watching this system move through the city of Atlanta, Nicole and I have been watching this line. It's not as thick as it was. I mean, when it was coming into West Georgia, you can see the width of this right now. That's a little bit thinner. And when it was coming into West Georgia and Northwest Georgia, it was a little wider there, indicating the line was a little stronger. The heavier rain lasted for a longer period of time in West Georgia. Now, this leading edge is thinning a little bit. Still, we have heavy rain and strong winds with it. In fact, we have a new special weather statement, which is issued by the National Weather Service, where we have multiple areas there of Rockdale, Barrow, DeKalb, Gwinnett, Henry, Walton, North Central Butts, Western Jackson, Eastern Clayton, and Newton counties, where we have, again, a special statement, not quite the severe thunderstorm warning, but here is where we have some winds that are between 40 and 50 miles an hour. Well, they're now saying up to 40 miles an hour, so it's not even up to 50 right now. So with this, those counties that I just mentioned there on the east side have winds up to 40 miles an hour. And so that is the indicator that these storms, as they go to the east of the city, and really that came through the city of Atlanta, were not as strong here as they were over on the west side. Earlier, again, we had severe thunderstorm warnings. We had a tornado warning over to the west of us. But as it's moving through the city and over to the east of us, it is a little bit weaker now, not as strong. Still winds of 40 miles an hour. You need to, kind of pay attention to that. But that just shows us as it moves over to the east that line is weakening just a little bit more. And these here on the south side, now this warning here that is, again, for multiple counties here on the south side, is set to expire at noon. And, Nicole, I also see with that line, as you can see here, it's still not as thin as what we have that went through Atlanta, but this is actually showing signs of maybe not being as well structured as it was a little bit earlier when it pushed through parts of West Georgia. But still, a lot of heavy rain there, and still reasons to have a severe thunderstorm warning. But it'll be interesting to see if at noon, when this expires, if they are going to expand that anymore to include any additional counties over to the east, like maybe over into Pike County, Lamar County, for the rest of Meriwether, possibly into Upson County, or maybe into the rest of Spalding County, or even into Henry County. But as of what we're seeing right now, we may have winds there as it moves to the east, 40 to 50 miles an hour possible, but that could be below the threshold needed for a severe thunderstorm warning. So that's going to be the interesting thing to watch in about 8 minutes when the severe thunderstorm warning expires to see if they're going to issue it for additional counties down line here as it continues to move on through. But whether or not it is a severe thunderstorm warning, it still has some heavy rain with it. And also those winds that could still be around, 40 or 50 miles an hour at times.
Yeah, and Chris, I was just looking at some of the velocities associated with it, where that severe thunderstorm warning currently is.
Yes.
And it is definitely showing signs of weakening. I'm seeing winds only up to 40, 45 miles per hour versus, the 50, 55, 60 that we were seeing just a little bit ago.
And that's a good sign. So we see it visually there on how we're watching the reds and yellows kind of shrink up a little bit more. But Nicole is also checking within those velocity modes the wind speeds, and we're seeing the evidence there that those wind speeds are coming down a little bit more too. So those are some good signs for us here, and we'll keep watching here that line moving to the east and hope that we continue to see that weakening moving in. But even though this line can be weakening, I want you to be aware of all of the heavy rain that we have with it, and still the potential for some rising water and flood-prone areas that could get some flooding there. And the main areas of flooding that we have been seeing so far, and I know it's kind of hard, I'm going to take radar data off for just a brief moment, just so you can see these polygons in North Georgia. Hold on, if I can get down there really quick. Okay, I'm taking that off just for a moment so you can see these polygons. This is a flood warning for Bartow County. This is a flood warning for Cherokee County. This is a flood warning for parts of Pickens County, Dawson County, and also Lumpkin County. Those areas we've seen the heaviest rainfall amounts, and I'll show you some of those rainfall amounts that we have out there right now. And look here in Dawson County, there in Juneau, south of Juneau, Doppler radar estimating 5 inches of rain there. Also up into parts of Lumpkin County, that orange color that you see right there. 3.5 inches of rain falling there. And really it's that swath right here. I'll even show you some of these amounts over into parts of Cherokee County. 4 inches estimated by Doppler radar. 4.4 estimated by Doppler radar there on the west side. Also, some of these higher amounts, we don't have a flood warning in effect over in Carroll County, but let me show you here some of these warnings that we have, those higher amounts that we have there in those areas. I just lost my, query button here, where in Carroll County and also southern parts of Polk County, radar estimates there of around 5 inches, but that may have been from rain that came a little bit earlier, and it might not have all been at one time. So maybe the creeks and streams and the ground is able to absorb that a little bit more, but still some impressive rainfall amounts with that initial line as it was moving through our area just a little bit earlier as we see more of that rain moving over to the east. But the encouraging signs that we are seeing right now, though, is that leading edge, that line of the heaviest rain, the line that has prompted the severe thunderstorm warnings and even the tornado warning that we had earlier is showing signs of weakening. The winds aren't quite as strong with that now, and we're not seeing any concerning parts of that with any rotation. I want to get in closer to this right now in Gwinnett County. I just want to look at velocity. I'm just seeing a couple little, nothing really showing up there along that leading edge or within that. Also, just kind of watching. I don't really think any of that toward Greenville is anything to be concerned about. We don't see anything that would be, a debris finder or anything, but just still some parts of that storm where, it's interesting to see. It's almost like these little clusters there instead of a well-defined line where we have some of these clusters that we're watching. And that's where within those storms that we would have to watch for any type of rotation that could develop. But again, not seeing anything in that out there right now. And that's all going to continue moving on over here to the east and continuing to show signs, hopefully, of weakening there just a little bit more. Let me go back to Gwinnett. We have another one of those little areas there near Lawrenceville. Again, nothing to be overly concerned about, but just one of those little areas where we have some of this that may have some stronger winds right there between Lawrenceville and Snellville compared to what we have going up along 85, getting a little bit closer to Brazelton. Nothing to be alarmed about. Look at velocity here real quick. No, nothing is showing up there. And and those flood warnings there on the north side. It'll be interesting to see. And Nicole, I don't know if you're seeing anything on chat of any indications of other reports from emergency managers that would trigger any additional flood warnings to be issued?
No, they haven't given any indication as to whether they will put out. I will say I was just looking at some of the flood gauges kind of around town, and one of them up towards Cumming, Big Creek, is just currently in the action stage. But downstream from that, Big Creek near Alpharetta is getting higher. It's close to getting into the action stage and is forecast to get up into that minor flood stage as that water continues to flow downstream. So that could lead to some additional kind of minor flooding surrounding the Big Creek area near Alpharetta as well.
And that part of Big Creek, we often see flood warnings that are issued, but even if a flood warning is issued, it's usually for that part there along Big Creek, along the walkways there at the park that see some of the flooding. And, so that'll be something that we have to watch. That I don't know of many people who are wanting to go out and exercise this morning and walk on those paths and walkways there, but those would be the areas that would see any flooding there first along Big Creek in North Fulton County up there around Alpharetta. So this is going to be the thing we're watching in the next minute and a half to see if this warning is supposed to expire at noon, but then to see if the National Weather Service is going to expand that warning more over to the east into parts of Spalding County, or pushing down into these areas of Pike and Lamar County, possibly over into Upson County or the rest of Meriwether County, or to see if they're going to do a special weather statement with that, meaning that the storm is below what we would classify as severe status, but still winds can be around 40 to 50 miles an hour, just below that criteria or that threshold needed for severe thunderstorm warning. So that's what we'll be watching here over the next few minutes. Also, keeping an eye on those storms there in southern Troup, moving down into Harris and also Muskogee County, where the warning there had tornado possible tag on there. As we were watching some areas of potential rotation there. But again, that's just outside of our viewing area. Troup County is in our viewing area, but it cuts off right there at Harris and also Muskogee County. But of course, our friends in Thomaston, down in Upson County, are in our viewing area. So we have some interest there as the storm system continues to push on over to the east of us. Anything new?
Yeah, nothing new from the National Weather Service. I was just looking at some of the velocities that were indicated on the radar, and they've dropped even lower. So it looks like that severe warning storm is weakening even further, except for there's kind of an exception down towards the border of Troup and Meriwether counties. So on the far south side of that severe thunderstorm warning, where there are still some radar indicated wind speeds of up to 40, 45 miles per hour. But the rest of that line of storms has pretty significantly weakened, at least when it comes to the wind speeds, just in the last half hour or so too.
And Nicole, just as you were talking there, that warning did expire. We just hit noon, straight up at 12 o'clock. Where you notice that polygon there that we had for those areas of Troup, Meriwether, parts of Coweta, into Fayette County, that did just expire at noon. And that goes along with what Nicole was just saying, that we're not seeing there the indications of winds at 57, 58, 60 miles an hour or greater, which is the threshold for having a severe thunderstorm warning. But they most likely are going to be issuing a special weather statement, I would expect, at any time here, indicating, as Nicole mentioned, those winds that could be between 40 and 50 miles an hour. So these are good trends that we're seeing right now of the winds that are starting to relax a little bit. That leading edge, even though it's moved to the east of the city, that leading edge is showing signs of weakening, and it's not as strong as it was. And even the rainfall with it is heavy, but it's not heavy for a long time. It moves through pretty quickly, and that's thanks to that band that is showing signs of thinning. It was a lot thicker. The areas over in West Georgia, when we were showing a thick line of red there, those spots were getting rain for a long time, heavy rain for a long time. But with this now, once it moves through, even though it's moving through slowly, it's just not a really wide line of heavy rain that's going to last for a long time as it continues to move on off to the east. So those are the main things that we're watching out there right now. A good trends that we like to see. Of course, we're still going to get a lot of rain. We're still going to have some gusty winds. But as of right now, it is below the threshold of a severe thunderstorm warning. So the main focus here for the rest of the afternoon is going to be the rain that is falling and the rain that has already fallen, that is going to add to runoff that's going to run down to low-lying areas and still could make creeks and streams rise, or any flood-prone areas could still see some rising water here through the afternoon hours. And just know, when we're talking about this leading edge, that's the heavy rain. It doesn't end right when it moves through. We still have light and moderate rain here back behind it, which will add to even more of that ground saturation and add to even more of creeks and streams rising and those low-lying areas that could still collect water to cause some flooding issues. So we are continuing to monitor all these areas. And did I just see this as a special weather statement they just came out with for Spalding, Meriwether, Pike, Monroe, Henry, South Henry County, northwestern Upson, southern Butts, and northern Lamar counties. Let me just get the details on this too. Moving east at 25 miles an hour. So they're saying up to 40 mile an hour winds. So I was thinking that with this, we may still have 40 to 50 mile an hour winds, but now within that line, the National Weather Service is saying up to 40 mile an hour winds. So that is still below that criteria or threshold for a severe thunderstorm warning.
Yeah, I've been watching that line of storms that was previously severe warned. Honestly, that little cluster up into Gwinnett County, that's shown a little bit of signs of more strengthening. So winds there look like they're closer to 45, 50, even 55 miles per hour. So the little section of rainfall that's currently moving through eastern Gwinnett County, just passed through Lawrenceville, that's actually where some of the strongest winds associated with these storms are right now.
And that was that part of the system right there where I was saying, you know, we have that little curve there within that. It goes up to Brazelton, up 85, heavy rain there. And this little part right here, and then that bowing out below that is where we see some of those stronger winds pushing down to the east of Snellville. So that's still an intense storm up in Gwinnett County. I'm not seeing any lightning with it, though. And in fact, let me look. I'm going to widen out and... You know, I don't really see much lightning at all with this. Let me do a count just on the state here, including just there right along the West Georgia line. Just going to go over into Cleburne and Randolph County. I'll even include that down around LaGrange. It's showing 7 lightning strikes. And you know what? I think that's mainly from this up in North Georgia, up in Rabun County. That's probably where we have the lightning. So along this line, even though we have heavy rain, even though we have winds up to around 40 miles an hour, we're not seeing any lightning with it. And that's a good indicator of it moving into a little more stable air. Earlier, as these storms were moving through, we did have a lot of lightning with them. But now we're seeing it kind of stabilizing a little bit more, not as much lightning pushing through the area. Just those pockets of moderate to heavy rain and some of the gusty winds with it, and then just some impressive rainfall amounts as this system has been continuing to move on through. There it is in motion here. And really, when you see that, watch back here in West Georgia that goes back 2 hours. See, that's what I'm talking about with that line that was looking wider and more impressive there with all of the red. And you can really see, watch, boom, right there. You see how the line still doesn't go away, but the reds come down. The width of the line is a little bit thinner, and that's just that showing that line is weakening. But for those of you south and east of us, you're still dealing with heavy rain. This still hasn't even made it to Athens yet. It's moving into Barrow County. It's going to move into Oconee County, moving into parts of Walton County with that heavy rain coming out of Gwinnett. Also for our friends down south and east of the city, pushing through those areas of Newton County. It still has to get into parts of Greene County, into the Putnam County, also into Newton County here with that heavier rain that's going to keep moving through. Jasper County right here, it still has to move through with heavier rain. But when it does get into your area, it is not going to be as strong as it was in West Georgia or even here in Metro Atlanta. So this is a really good illustration of what I was showing you with that line that was a lot more impressive in North Georgia and also over in West Georgia, how it goes to the east, still heavy rain with it, still some wind, but it's thinner, not as intense as it was earlier, and it is continuing to show some of those signs of weakening moving in. So really, for the rest of the afternoon, we just have to get this main line to clear through. Then we'll be dealing with the lingering rain left behind. It's not going to end immediately. It's just going to start tapering off later on this afternoon, and then still watching that potential for rising water in creeks and streams with the runoff going into those creeks and streams, also runoff flowing down into low-lying areas where we see any potential for any additional flooding. Where we have those flood warnings still for Bartow County, Cherokee County, into parts of Pickens County, Dawson, and also into Lumpkin County. So, Nicole, it's looking like even though we still have some activity out there, at least it's not as bad as it was. And we're seeing things that will be slowly improving and not as intense as it was a little bit earlier today.
Yes, does look weaker for sure. I want to circle back to we're getting some from emergency managers in Coweta County that are saying that there's multiple reports of trees down as well as power lines down in the northwestern portion of Coweta County. So that does include areas where that tornado warning was issued. Of course, we can't know for sure whether it was because of straight line winds or associated with that tornado warning, but there are reports. So anyone in Coweta County where that was issued, northwestern Coweta County specifically, know that we've gotten reports of power lines down as well as trees down. So if you do have to get out on the roads right now for any reason, just know that with the strong winds that have been coming through associated with these storms, it's very likely that there is some sort of debris in the roads. So just take it extra slow. One, because of the potential for debris in the roads from damage associated with some of the stronger winds, but also because of that flood risk. Where we could still see areas that have rain that is perhaps still kind of falling into the downstream locations, leading to swollen streams and creeks. We talked about how that line of storms is weakening, and it certainly is. But a big factor here as well is that a lot of these storms are now finally starting to move. So overnight, and honestly for the first few hours of this morning through about 9 a.m., these storms were raining over the same locations for long periods of time. And that's what led to kind of more of a flooding issue through Coweta County, up into Cherokee County, those northern counties where we have those flash flood warnings. It was raining all night there. We've seen rain totals in those spots that are upwards of 4, even 5 inches of accumulation just from the last 24 hours. So now that these storms have picked up a little bit of speed, although they're still producing very heavy rainfall, they're still leading to likely a little bit of pooling on roads, just kind of slick, more dangerous spots on the roads. They're not going to pose as much of a risk for flooding, especially down towards the south and east of the city. Now, all that to say, we still have some heavy rainfall behind that main line of showers and storms. So we are going to be watching that very closely as well. But we are getting in, of course, additional reports from emergency managers across North Georgia of areas that have been dealing with either flooding or types of debris in the roads. Danielle Moss was just posting that in Lumpkin County, they have a little bit of flooding there near Highway 9 and 19 North, and that they had about 6 inches of rain reported by some of the nearby kind of water sites that manage that as well. So the flooding will continue to be an issue there.
All right, Nicole, thank you so much. We have been streaming nonstop since 10:30, getting you through these warnings and everything that have been pushing through. What we're going to do right now is Nicole and I are going to take a little bit of a break just to kind of catch up a little bit on what we've got going on there. Danielle Moss is here too. What we're going to do is put the maps back up here on streaming on 11 Alive Plus, so you can still look at what's happening here on radar. We are going to be coming back in just a little while with more live updates from our streaming center in just a little bit here. So we're going to continue our streaming coverage here throughout the afternoon. But for now, we're going to take a little bit of a break and put the maps up so you can watch this move through. We'll have another update at least at 12:30, but maybe a little bit before that as we watch these storms move through. But we're feeling good about the fact that all severe thunderstorm warnings are canceled. The line is thinning out, the winds are coming down, and we're not seeing any additional rotation with any of these storms out there right now. We're just going to be watching the flooding potential, especially in those areas where we have a flood warning that is in effect for parts of Bartow County, there into Cherokee County, also Pickens, Dawson, and Lumpkin counties. And in Atlanta, still dealing with rain here, but it's lighter, not as intense as it was a little bit earlier. So we're going to come down right now. We'll keep the maps up on streaming as we go through the next 15 minutes or so, and then we'll have another update for you coming up at 12:30, and then another one at 1 o'clock, and then we'll start tapering off those updates once this system starts to calm down just a little bit more. So thank you for watching us. Stay with us here on 11 Alive Plus and Weather Impact 24/7 to keep an eye on radar and this rain as it moves on through.